Here are my notes today, and then I would let you guys fill in the blanks and ask whatever questions you feel pertinent. But Karan Amagaji, guys, was left tackle number 1 today, while Ozzy Trapillo was left tackle number 2. Tyson Bagent, if we're doing 2s and 3s, was the second string quarterback today, with Case Keenum Marshall being the third string quarterback. So that reversed from yesterday when Keenum was getting all the second team reps. A few things that I wrote down in my notes here about what I saw on the practice field, things that I can discuss that I saw happen out there. It's kind of a rough day for Caleb in terms of some of the deep ball stuff that he was going after today. He overthrew DeAndre Swift deep down the sideline in 11 on 11. And then right after that, threw a short pass to DeAndre Swift that was behind him. And just for whatever it's worth, that was a short pass to the left. And if you guys remember, that was something very specific that Caleb had said to us. I was like, wait a minute, let me see here. Was that to the left? Yeah, to the left, to the left, to the left. And it was not caught. It was a poor throw. There was one other deep ball to DJ Moore that was missed on 7-on-7, but Tyreek Stevenson was called for a pass interference on that particular play. I think things look better than yesterday, but nothing from really either side, guys. Nothing really stood out big time in terms of star plays by either the offense or defense. Just kind of a steady day today. But I will say that Caleb was missing on some of those long shots down the field.
That's been an issue going back to last year when we were like, please throw the ball down the field and hit somebody, and it just did not happen very often. It was quite rare, but a lot of that might have also been his reluctance to throw passes that could eventually be picked off as opposed to maybe trying to draw a pass interference. Grote, I want to ask you about what we heard Ryan Poles say on the Hogan Johns podcast, because we just got finished discussing really what is going on as far as who's in charge, who's doing what. When Ryan Poles defers to Ben Johnson for the quote-unquote sake of consistency in terms of discussing injuries, is that a shift in your mind? And does that say anything about the power structure to you about who's doing what, the GM not wanting to talk about injuries?
I think it's still being sorted out right now. Every single regime does it a little bit differently. They are not required to tell us the specifics of what's going on. So I feel like, Marshall, every year at this time, we kind of go through this of like, what are they going to tell us? What are they not going to tell us? What do we have to ask? What should they add? I will say that Ben Johnson has been pretty good. I was just talking about this with Patrick Finley outside, that Ben Johnson has been pretty good at, like, including today, in anticipating the questions that we're going to ask, getting that out of the way in the introduction, which leaves the collective media open to ask other questions. And obviously there's still follow-ups that were needed on those guys, but at least that gets us to a good place. And if people don't know, too, let me just, and I'm sure you guys have mentioned this, but just for the sake of the audience, Luther Burden not out there today, still dealing with a soft tissue issue, which, according to the Bears, did linger longer than the team had anticipated. Ben Johnson says that he's hopeful that Luther Burden is going to be out just a few days. Also says that he's done all the classroom work, has been very present, been very impressive, but Johnson did say that there is no substitute for full-time reps, which, we all know that.
I think that was my biggest takeaway from what he had to say, given what we've heard him say before about how much you can miss at this time and during OTAs, especially as a rookie. Even though it's a new offense for everybody, I do think that there's still a bigger learning curve with the first-time players as a whole. When do you think this becomes a concern for them?
That's a great question. Like I'm starting to ask those questions right now about a lot of things, Layla, in terms of when can we be concerned about play? Look, if Luther Burden is not back, I'll put it next week. Like, if he's not back participating in practice and ramping up, whatever, if that's what it needs to be, ramping up, that's fine. But I would say if he's not back in there by next Monday, like, I'll, in my reporter head, I won't really worry too much until next week. And if he's not out there, then I think that there can be some actual concern about what's going on with Luther Burden. But from everybody that has spoken publicly and people that I've talked to off the air, so to speak, it sounds like Burden is going to be okay.
I feel like that's fair. As long as we have an understanding of like when we can start to dial up the this has gone from a nuisance to a problem level. That's a good goal. Bears training camp coverage with Mark Grote, by the way, on the score is presented by Chevy Drive Silverado and the #1 draft Chevy Drive Chicago and the #1 draft pick the Chevy Silverado, the official truck partner of the Chicago Bears.
Mark, you talked about Caleb Williams being a little bit off in the deep ball and then the short passes to the left. When you talk about that rotation at left tackle, is this what we're expecting? Are they kind of setting the precedent? Because we heard from the head coach that it was going to be an opportunity for all the players, 3 guys, in fact, to win the quote-unquote starting left tackle job. Is that what this is showing to you, or is this something different just because they don't have all 3 of those guys ready to go yet?
Well, and I'm glad that you circled back to this, Marshall, because I should point out that for the second straight day, that when the offense first lines up, when they have all 11 guys lined up on offense and they're going up against air, in other words, the defense is not out there, for the second straight day, they showed us Braxton Jones as the left tackle. Same drill, by the way, for Braxton Jones today. He did not participate in 7-on-7, or excuse me, he would not do 7-on-7. He did not participate in any 11-on-11. Same deal for Colston Loveland while I'm at it. He was out there. I saw Colston Loveland sprinting on the sidelines today. He looked good in the stuff that he was allowed to do. But circling back to the point about left tackle, Braxton Jones, I think symbolically they are showing you that no matter what you see in 11-on-11 right now with Ozzie Trapillo getting it, they're still giving a nod to Braxton Jones as the first guy at left tackle. So I do think that that's the order right now. Braxton Jones, Ozzie Trapillo, and then Karan Amagaji third. But again, this is day 2 of training camp. But that's what they're showing us right now.
Well, and what could you gather from what you did see with Karan Amagaji today?
I would say watching the first round of reps, he looked vulnerable. And I will say this, and even the people who really know offensive line, it's very difficult. I always have to give this disclaimer until I know people get annoyed by it, but it's really hard. There's 2 positions that are super difficult to evaluate, offensive line and running back, until the pads come on. But it looked like to me, Karan Amagaji was getting twisted and turned into knots early on out there, and then he seemed to settle in that first drive, and even he'd come in subsequently. So it took him a while, I thought, to ramp up. As far as Ozzie Trapillo is concerned, I didn't notice with my eyes any major issues with him out there. But again, it's hard to find the subtleties, especially today too. We were also at a bit of a handicap because the team they were all the way down on the other side of the field. So we're 100 yards away basically from seeing the action that is going on the field.
Mark Grote, Scores Bears reporter and co-host of the Take the North podcast, joining us live from Halas Hall, where all the action has just wrapped up and people are talking. Do we know who's talking as far as not just today, but in general, like the players-wise? Is there a certain rotation, or do you guys just find out every day?
We kind of just find out day to day. I know with the coaches, there's a set schedule. Like obviously, as you know, we talked to Ben Johnson today. DJ Moore might be speaking right now. That's how much I love you guys. I am missing my guy, DJ Moore, but there are ways for me to get the audio. So Mr. Gratitude. He likes to be pleased. He likes gratitude. That's our guy, DJ Moore. But he's speaking right now. So I'm sure that you guys will get to play some of that later on your show. And I'll certainly be reporting on the Spiegel and Holmes show at 5 o'clock today. So he's speaking today, and then representing the defense today, a guy that is always good to hear from, is Kevin Byard, the third, who will be out there, who will be speaking at the podium next, and we'll find out more about what he thinks about Dennis Allen, up downs, burpees. Oh, by the way, no up downs today from the defense. No, none of that stuff today.
Love burpees. Following up on DJ Moore, how important is this relationship I don't know if there's a rift or not. I don't know what's going on with DJ Moore and Caleb Williams, but do you feel like there's any signs that they could be better put together this year than maybe what we saw last year? Obviously, just a rough season for DJ Moore, statistically speaking, and it seemed like several times he was not on the same page with his rookie quarterback.
And I think DJ Moore and Ben Johnson cleared the air a little bit because Ben Johnson made it clear that certain things are not going to be acceptable this year. When we spoke to DJ Moore earlier this year, he did talk about, addressing the moment, and he addressed this last year too in the moment, but when he kind of in a very sort of casual way went off the field on a throw downfield from Caleb Williams, went onto the sidelines, and he basically admitted, he said it happened one time and it's not going to happen again. So look, DJ Moore, as I said, is he's a different cat, but he is at the point in his career where he's made a whole bunch of money, and I think what's on his mind is winning. He still wants his, make no mistake about it, but I think what's going to be even more interesting than the relationship with Ben Johnson, which I assume is good at this point, is just exactly who pushes DJ Moore. DJ Moore is your most important wide receiver still on this team, but does Rome Odunze take that next step? Does Luther Burden factor in? I mean, are these setbacks, will they have hurt Luther Burden this year? Colston Loveland, how that I'm still fascinated by. I guess I put it in the category of, you have a luxury of riches, it appears, with the receiver weapons, but maybe be careful what you wish for, because how are you going to work this all out? Who's going to get the ball the most? Is it going to be spread around? Is everybody going to be competent? There's still a lot to be seen when it comes to this offense.
I don't know, quickly, Mark, can you touch on just the discussion surrounding the running backs today?
I thought that was interesting today. I would invite you guys to listen to, if you already haven't, but Ben Johnson, he was asked about DeAndre Swift and the running backs room. It felt like to me it was kind of hard for him to get through that. I don't think he knew what to say. Because again, not in pads, not full force, and it's not the ideal running back room. He talked about DeAndre Swift, what a great guy he is, and what a hard worker he is, and what a quiet, low-key, balanced individual he is, and all that kind of stuff. But when you start to talk about the personal and not the stuff on the field, it makes me wonder how he does feel about this running backs group. Travis Homer had a hell of a run today, so that stood out. But it's, the rotation, we just don't know it yet. With the Karan Amagaji, Kyle Monungai is definitely present out there. I mentioned Travis Homer, DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson busted a couple today, but that is certainly a position that is still being worked out. And I think, based on the answer that Ben Johnson gave us today, he's not exactly sure how it's all going to go down in that running backs room yet either.
Wow. All right. Good stuff, Mark Grote. We appreciate the heads up from Halas Hall. We look forward to your Bears hit with Spiegel and Holmes.